This is You've Already Been Hacked, recorded on 21 November 2020. All right, this week, let's pick up with a story we covered last week. Capcom has come forward saying that ransomware actors stole customer and employee data. The game giant has announced a data breach after confirming that attackers stole sensitive customer and employee information during the recent ransomware attack. The attack occurred on November 2nd of 2020, and it was an attack that led to Capcom shutting down portions of their network to halt the infection spread. Capcom learned that Ragnar Locker ransomware was the cause of the cyber attack after a security researcher found a sample of the malware used in the attack. In a data breach notification released this past week, Capcom had admitted that not only has confidential corporate documents been stolen, but that threat actors stole customers' and employees' data as well. During the attack, the hackers gained access to customer names, addresses, gender, phone number, email addresses, birth dates, investors' names, and the amount of shareholdings and photos those individuals had. For employees, their information exposed could include names, addresses, passport information, signatures, birth dates, phone numbers, photos, email addresses, and more. Some of the information that has been verified to have been compromised is personal information of 5 employees to include their signature, personal information of employees to include their name, HR information, and other information, sales reports, financial information. Potentially compromised data includes personal information of customers, business partners, up to 350,000 individual items. There are items from Japan, North America. In Japan, the items include video game support help desk information of customers that have contacted them. North America includes store information and esports information as well. There's also 40,000 items related to shareholders, former employee information, including family members, up to 28,000 people, applicant information up to 125,000 people, to include names, birthdays, addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, and photos. According to Capcom, it does not appear that account logins and passwords were accessed during this attack, but there's enough sensitive information exposed that the affected people should be very concerned. In particular, threat actors could use the information that they stole in targeted phishing attacks that attempt to steal further information from employees and customers. Moving on. State-sponsored APTs are now targeting COVID-19 research. Hackers sponsored by the Russians and the North Korean governments have been targeting companies directly involved in researching vaccines and treatments for COVID-19. And in some cases, they may have already succeeded, according to Microsoft. In all, there are 7 prominent companies that have been targeted, according to the Microsoft Corporate VP for Computer Security and Trust, Tom Burt. These companies include vaccine makers with COVID-19 vaccines in various clinical trial stages, a clinical research organization involved in the trials, and a developer of a COVID-19 test. Also targeted were organizations with contracts with an investment from government agencies around the world related to COVID-19 work. The targets are located in the United States, Canada, France, India, and South Korea. One of the attack groups involved is Strotinium, Microsoft's moniker for hackers sponsored by the Russian government. They are using password spraying and brute force login attacks that bombard servers with large numbers of credentials in the hopes of guessing correct ones. Last year, Microsoft caught Strotinium infecting printers and other devices and using them as beachheads to compromise the networks they connected to. More recently, Microsoft said Strotinium targeted the Trump and Biden campaigns. 2 other groups, dubbed Zinc and Cerium, work on behalf of the North Korea government. Both are using spear phishing emails, with those from Zinc fabricating job recruiters and those from Cerium masquerading as representatives from the World Health Organization. Let's dig a little deeper into this. Organizations involved in COVID-19 response that have been hit by cyber attacks include Americold, a company whose cold storage capabilities are integral to the U.S. food supply chain and soon COVID-19 vaccine distribution. Americold confirmed operations had been impacted by a cyber attack in recent SEC filings. The filing was brief and read in part, quote, "As a precautionary measure, the company took immediate steps to help contain the incident and implemented business continuity plans where appropriate to continue ongoing operations. Security in all its forms remain a top priority to Americold, and the company will continue to seek to take all appropriate measures to further safeguard the integrity of its information technology infrastructure, data, and customer information." The attack affected the company's phone systems, email, inventory management, and order fulfillment, according to reports on Twitter. One truck driver reported last week, quote, "At Americold Depot, and their systems are down," unquote. "They are unable to assign me a door. We'll let the waiting begin." Well, how's that for frustration? Based in Atlanta, Americold is the largest cold storage provider in the United States, and it owns and operates 183 temperature-controlled warehouses globally, including in Argentina, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand, and just acquired a similar company in Europe. For an idea of scale, it holds the contract for linking the ConAgra food production giant to supermarkets and consumers. Now, what's concerning about this attack against Americold is that the trend of attackers is getting larger, and they're going after more and more critical organizations. This looks to be a ransomware attack, but overall, professionals need to be on the lookout and responsible for keeping not only today's IT together, but also operational technology and Internet of Things technologies safe. In the manufacturing business, time is money, so the distribution of IT services as well as manufacturing downtime and shipment delays translates into real losses. Critically, Americold has been in talks to provide storage and transport for the distribution of temperature-sensitive COVID-19 vaccines, according to reports. If I can get a little more personal with the news here, a story a little close to home. The Texas driver's license data has been compromised. A software company that provides services for insurance groups disclosed this week that about 27.7 million Texas driver's license records were exposed in a data breach earlier this year. The company, Vertafore, said in a statement posted on a website set up to address the breach that the data was exposed sometime between March and August and affected licenses issued before February 2019. Exposed data included driver's license numbers, addresses, dates of birth, and vehicle registration history, according to the report. The group said that no Social Security numbers or financial account information was compromised. The breach happened after 3 files were accessed by an unauthorized user, after the files were, quote, inadvertently stored in an unsecured external storage service, according to Vertafone. So basically, they're talking about somebody took something and put it on a Dropbox. Or pick your company, not pick it on Dropbox specifically. The company also said that it had become aware of the breach in August and had immediately hired a leading intelligence firm to determine if any of the exposed data had been stolen or misused. While the firm did not find any evidence of this, Vertafore said that it is providing a year of free credit monitoring and identity restoration services to all Texan residents whose driver's licenses were exposed in the breach. A spokesperson for the Texas DMV told the news that the Texas Attorney General's office has opened an investigation into the breach, but emphasized that none of the systems affected were Texas government networks. Vertafore, for its part, emphasized in disclosing the breach that it was taking steps to enhance employee cybersecurity and privacy training, reinforcing security procedures and policies, and further enhancing the security of its systems. Moving on. Hackers are targeting the South Korea supply chain. Cybersecurity researchers from Etsy have revealed that abuse of the certificates stolen from two separate legitimate South Korean companies are behind a recent cyber attack. Lazarus, also known as Hidden Cobra, is an umbrella term for select threat groups, including offshoot entities suspected of being tied to North Korea. Thought to be responsible for Sony's infamous 2014 hack, Lazarus also has been connected to hacks using zero-day vulnerabilities, LinkedIn phishing messages, and the deployment of Trojans in campaigns including Dackles and TrickBot. In this supply chain attack, the threat actors are using an, quote, unusual supply chain mechanism, unquote, according to Etsy, in which Lazarus is abusing a standard requirement for all South Korean internet users, which is the need to install additional security software when they visit government or financial service websites. The London Hackney Council struggling to recover from cyber attacks. The London Council was hit with a cyber attack a month ago and has said that some services may be unavailable or disrupted for months to come. The Hackney Council, which provides services to 280,000 people in East London, said in an update on the mid-October cyber attack that it was continuing to work hard to recover the affected systems and end the significant disruption that has prevented residents from accessing some services. The council has described the incident as, quote, an advanced criminal cyber attack, unquote, that is affecting a large number of services. And the council also said it is working alongside the National Cybersecurity Center, or NCSC, and the National Crime Agency, the NCA, to investigate the repugnant attack. However, the council has provided little detail as to what actually happened. Services still affected include the land searches and planning applications needed for property sales, plus the ordering and reporting systems the council uses to process reports, such as noise nuisances, antisocial behavior, and missed waste collections. Systems the council use to access accounts, create new accounts, and process payments for things like benefits, council tax, rent, and service charges, and the online apps that residents use to manage these services themselves are also affected. Finally, the council has also stated that messages sent to some of its public email addresses between the 12th and 26th of October cannot now be accessed, and that inquiries that have not received a response and remain outstanding should be sent again. In our next story, Managed.com has been hit with ransomware. Managed web hosting provider Managed.com has taken their servers and web hosting systems offline as they struggle to recover from a REvil ransomware attack. This past week, Managed.com announced that they had suffered an issue affecting the availability of their hosting services and are investigating the matter. This was first reported by ZDNet. Managed.com disclosed it this past Tuesday, and they stated that they were hit with a ransomware attack, and to protect the integrity of their customers' data, they decided to take their entire system down, including clients' websites. Since learning of the attack, multiple sources have told the press that Managed.com was hit by ransomware operations known to be associated with REvil. According to a screenshot shared with the press, REvil is demanding a $500,000 ransom in Monero, an Ethereum-based crypto coin, to receive a decryptor. It is not known if the ransomware operation stole unencrypted files before encrypting devices. In a recent interview with the public-facing representative of REvil, the ransomware operation claims to earn over $100 million a year in extortion payments. REvil has been responsible for large attacks in the past, including Travelex, Kenneth Cole, SeaChange, Brown & Forman, and celebrity law firm Grubin, Shire, Miscellanies & Sachs, GSM Law. And finally, perhaps there is just a little hope on the horizon. An Internet of Things security bill to establish security standards mandatory for the United States government has bipartisan support. The IoT Cybersecurity Improvement Act, which was led bipartisanly by Representatives William Hurd of Texas and Robin Kelly of Illinois would require the federal procurement and use of IoT devices to conform to basic security standards. The act was unanimously passed by the House in September and by the Senate earlier this week. The next step is for it to be sent to the president's desk to be signed. Security stalwarts praised the bill's alignment with existing standards and best practices, as well as its meaning for IoT devices, which have long been plagued by security and privacy issues. The Cybersecurity Improvement Act for IoT has a few different paths. First, it mandates that NIST must issue standards-based guidelines for the minimum security of IoT devices that are owned by the federal government. The Office of Management and Budget must also implement requirements for federal civilian agencies to have information security policies that are consistent with the NIST guidelines. Under the law, federal agencies must also implement a vulnerability disclosure policy for IoT devices, and they cannot procure devices that do not meet these security guidelines. Of note, NIST has been developing considerations for manufacturer-based IoT security measures, which they have recommended since 2019. And NIST's EU counterpart, the EU Agency for Network and Information Security, has already published baseline security recommendations for Internet of Things devices. That's all for the news this week. I'm your Professor of Cyber Risk. We'll talk again soon.